In this video, I'm going to share with you 4 steps to turn your body into a fat burning machine without restricting calories. And at the end, I'll explain why drastically reducing calories is a terrible idea. So make sure you watch all the way through so you don't miss anything. The first and one of the most important steps is to build muscle. Muscle is a more energy demanding tissue than fat, which means that muscle burns more calories than fat. So the more muscle you have, the more calories you're going to burn. That means you can eat more calories without gaining any more fat. I hope that makes sense. Having more muscle allows you to eat more calories without gaining fat because those muscles need those calories for fuel. So you need to lift weights with a lot of intensity quite close to failure, within like 3 reps of failure. And that will stimulate a lot of hypertrophy, a lot of muscle growth. You need to increase the weight that you're lifting over weeks and months so that you're getting stronger. And you need to eat about 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body weight every day. If you do all of those things, then you'll build muscle. You'll look better, you'll be stronger, and you'll find fat loss a lot easier. Second, what you're eating matters. It's important to understand that it's not just calories in and calories out. 2,000 calories from pure sugar is going to have a very different effect on the body than 2,000 calories from olive oil. Despite having the same amount of calories, the body is going to respond very differently to those 2 kinds of food, and their effect on the systems of the body are very different. So you're going to have different levels of fat gain or fat burning depending on what food you're eating. So what you're eating matters. Sugary foods especially spike insulin more than fatty foods, and insulin increases your body fat gain. So ideally you want to keep insulin at quite a stable level and not spike it too often or too much. And you can do this by reducing how much sugary food you eat, including things like bread and just about any highly processed foods that you find like in the store. And you can still very much enjoy some indulgent foods, things like cream and butter, meat, honey, high quality chocolate and cheese. Remember that people used to eat stuff like this all the time before like the 1950s, and obesity was almost zero. They were also very active, which obviously plays a role in that. But take a look at this graph which shows obesity rates alongside the types of food that we eat, and you can see that obesity clearly correlates very highly with an increasing consumption of oils and cereals, but it doesn't seem affected by dairy, meat, fruit or vegetables. So it's pretty clear that swapping out meat and dairy for oils and grains doesn't prevent obesity or heart problems like mainstream medicine told us it would. Basically, you just need to eat the foods that your ancestors would have eaten like 300 years ago, like meat, eggs, fish, dairy, fruit, vegetables and nuts. And high quality grains like sourdough bread and oats are also fine, but grains shouldn't be the majority of your calories like they are for most people, especially like refined grains in like very highly processed forms like white bread with a bunch of extra stuff added in them. And make sure you eat plenty of very satiating foods, so very filling foods like potatoes, eggs, lean red meat, fish and Greek yogurt. These kinds of things will fill you up, but they're not that high in calories, so your stomach will feel nice and full. You're not going to be hungry, but you're not going to gain weight because your caloric intake is lower. It's very hard to overeat on these good like whole foods, these very satiating foods. On the other hand, it's very easy to overeat things that don't really fill you up and that are very palatable, that taste like really, really good, and you can just keep eating things like chips, like chocolate, cakes, and that kind of thing. So that's quite a lot of information, which can basically be summarized by saying stop eating highly processed and sugary foods and just eat real whole foods at least like 80% of the time, because your diet's not going to be perfect, but just try and be good 80% of the time, and that will get you into a much better place than you are now. The third step that you can do to lose fat is intermittent fasting. This is where you only eat for like 8 hours of the day and then you fast for the rest of the day, like 16 hours. So you might have your first meal at like 12 noon at lunchtime, and then you have your last meal at like 8 p.m. at dinner time. This keeps your insulin levels very stable throughout the day. You're not spiking insulin because you're not eating food. And combined with regular resistance training to preserve your muscle, while you're fasting, your body is going to tap into its fat stores for calories, since there are like no carbs in the system for energy, and muscle is deemed too important to act as a source of energy since you're working out, you're lifting weights. Intermittent fasting has been shown to be basically as good as caloric restriction for weight loss, even if you don't count calories at all. And the last thing you can do is just walk. The average American walks like 5,000 to 7,000 steps a day. If you get that up to like 10,000 a day, that's going to burn more calories first of all, but it's also going to make your body tap into your fat stores for fuel while preserving muscle. So if you don't like jogging, then you can just walk instead. Increase the number of steps you take every day. Try and walk instead of using your car. I know American cities are not designed for walking, but even if you have like a treadmill, you can walk on that at the gym, getting an extra like 4,000 or 5,000 steps a day. If you have like a little shop near you and you go and buy your groceries in the shop, just walk there instead of taking the car. For a lot of people, adding just a couple thousand steps a day is going to really help you with losing weight. So now I'll explain why you shouldn't starve yourself by drastically reducing your calories. Your body's metabolism is very tightly regulated around a set point, which is your maintenance calories. It doesn't like to add tissue or lose tissue. So it adjusts your maintenance calories to try and prevent fat loss or muscle gain. This means that your metabolism is constantly adjusting based on what you're eating, how much you're eating, and your activity level, and a bunch of other things. When you drastically drop your calories, your body is going to adjust its metabolic set point to be lower in order to prevent a loss of tissue, to prevent fat loss, because fat contains a lot of calories that your body can use, so it doesn't really want to lose that. It wants to save it for when you really need it, like if you're actually starving. So if your maintenance calories was like 2,500 before and you drop your caloric intake to like 1,800, you're going to start losing weight very quickly, but your maintenance calories are also going to drop as your metabolism adjusts. And eventually your maintenance calories will come down to like 1,800, so the same amount as what you're eating. And at that point, you're going to stop losing weight because you're just eating at maintenance. And then you'll have to drop your calories even lower if you want to keep losing weight, which is obviously completely unsustainable. This means that small caloric deficits are far superior to massive ones. If you combine a small deficit with the methods that I talked about in this video to enhance your metabolism, then fat loss becomes very straightforward. The things I talked about in this video basically just increase your maintenance calorie, like more activity, more calories burned just by existing because you have more muscle. Having a higher maintenance calories is going to allow you to eat more food while still losing weight. So this is the point you want to get to, where your metabolism is so strong that you actually struggle to gain weight. You can eat a lot of food without gaining any weight, and this is the problem that I have. I'm not exactly sure why, but my metabolism is like ridiculously fast. I have to eat over 3,000 calories just to maintain my body weight. Any less and I start shrinking rapidly, and to gain weight I have to eat like 3,500 calories. And the reasons for this probably include I do a lot of walking, a lot of exercise, I have a good amount of muscle relative to my fat, I was very active as a kid, and I eat a very healthy diet with almost no processed foods. And obviously genetics is also very important, but my parents are not especially lean and they can't eat nearly as much as me without gaining weight. So if you do all the things I mentioned in this video and you eat in a small caloric deficit, as long as you have no like hormonal problems like a thyroid issue or something, you're going to lose fat. So just to summarize again, build muscle by resistance training, eat whole foods, try and minimize overly processed like sugary stuff that's going to spike your insulin. Try out intermittent fasting, which is where you limit your eating window to like 8 hours a day. You probably only have like 2 meals a day instead of 3. And lastly, get more steps in each day. Do a bit more walking. All of this is going to speed up your body's metabolism, which means it's going to burn more calories just at rest. Just by existing, you're going to burn more calories than previously. And this is going to make fat loss so much easier. If you'd like a concrete plan for the first step, which is to build muscle, I've got a physique program, which I'll link in the description, and that will pretty much walk you through every step you need to do in order to build a great physique, to build muscle, lose fat, get stronger, and give you a body that you're happy with. Because everyone deserves to exist in a body that they're proud of, but it takes a lot of effort to get there. And that process will be sped up. It will be much easier and more simple if you have a framework to get you there. And that's what I hope to provide you. So check that out in the description. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.